Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Limitless Being Podcast. I am Danielle, your host, here to be a guide for you on this journey of life. This is a space cultivated with the intentions of connection, vulnerability, spirituality, limitless knowledge, explorative conversations, loving guidance, and so much more. I'm here to spread love while activating freedom within the collective consciousness. I'm a digital nomad, an entrepreneur, and a magnetic spiritual being here to help you activate your power to cultivate the life of your dreams. This container I have created is an incredibly safe space for us to have these conversations which lead us toward liberation, acceptance, and radical love of self. If you have found this podcast, it's by no accident. You've been guided here because there's a part of you who's ready to stop making excuses and live the life you've imagined. So join me here every Thursday. Welcome back to the podcast, listeners. Today I have an incredibly special guest. She's a sister. I think of you as a goddess incarnate. Your power is so pure. A sister, a lover, a partner, a daughter, an entrepreneur, and a bright light on this planet. You are such an inspiration through being so empowered with yourself and embodying that empowerment for others, especially other women, as you are an incredible advocate for women, for the divine feminine, and for, people on this planet that feel like they don't have a voice. You are the voice and the advocate for those individuals as well. So thank you so much for being here today, Claire and Natalia. I know you as Claire, of course. We have been friends for many, many years. And, because of my lifestyle, I feel like a lot of the women in my life, obviously right now, like we're at a distance, but we always find a way to circle back to each other. And I also want to say this, you are such a fucking powerhouse. Like the women in my life, and you included, obviously, I can't wait to get us all together in the same room because we are just, oh my God, yes. I'm manifesting that for my birthday, but you are such a powerhouse. You are so incredible. So thank you for being here and sharing your magic.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited, and like we were saying right before it recorded, like I'm just excited to explore what this, however long we're going to be on here, explore kind of what it brings to us. And I just know both you and I move with intuition, and we're going to trust that whatever comes up is like what we talk about. And I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, to be vulnerable, we talked about this before even entering into this recording. We really wanted to just open the space for vulnerability and showing up as we are, what we're feeling, what we've been working through, what we've been processing. I know that you're going through something very difficult right now. And I also know that though it might not be something in like my physical life, internally, there's been a lot of energetic, emotional challenges, and we're not alone in the kind of chaos that we might be experiencing right now. So knowing the medicine and vulnerability, why don't you share with us where you're at and share your heart so we can love you as a community for that.
Thank you. I've desperately been clinging on to my community during this time. It's a very heavy thing that I'm going through right now. Would you like me to share?
Yeah, of course.
What it is specifically. So, I just want to preface all this by offering a couple trigger warnings to you and our listeners. Trigger warning SA and trigger warning death, and unfortunately, trigger warning knife stuff. So. One of my very, very dear friends, her name was Lauren Heike. We worked together at True North. One of the jobs that I do, I'm doing so many things all the time, but one career that I have right now is being a beverage cart girl, and it's a great job in itself. But the people that I've worked with, I've really had an opportunity to develop a smaller sisterhood, with them, because it is all women. we are all dealing with the same things out there, and it's just important to like be able to relate to one another so deeply like that.
Right.
And Lauren was one of my dearest friends, and this is so scary and like triggering for me and like the other women that I've shared with, because this directly affects like all women, specifically younger women, independent women, because my dear friend Lauren was out on a morning walk, which is like so scary because I walk all the time. It's where I've found so much positivity and empowerment and like really just allowing myself to like ground when I need to. And I try and get out every single day.
Right.
She was walking in a very populated area in North Scottsdale, like a frequently
very
visited,
known as safe populated area as well. North Scottsdale is very quote unquote safe.
Right. Very. Wow. It's very, for those that don't reside in Arizona or really know about North Scottsdale, it's one of the more affluent areas in the state, really, in metropolitan Phoenix, and very, very low crime. Mm-hmm. And this is just extra shocking because of that. So she was walking to go get her morning coffee or just on a walk, and some man attacked her from behind and raped her and then killed her. And
oh my goodness.
It's the most awful thing that like anybody could imagine. And I feel it's like such a weird thing because, we as women growing up in this society, we have to inform ourselves about all of these stories, all of the potential scenarios for what is going to happen to us when we leave the safety of our own home. And unfortunately, even in some cases, the safety of our own home isn't even enough. But, we are confronted with having to think about these things every single time we walk out the door, and to just, I've listened to like crime podcasts and all that stuff because it is an interest of mine, but it also is a way that I will like gather more tools and more information to carry with myself as I move forward through this world as a young woman, as somebody who enjoys spending time alone. And it's just scary because nobody deserves anything like that. Nobody deserves anything like that. And it's so closely related to us because I know how much like walking and being outside, means to a lot of people.
And that's home for us. That's home for us. And of course she was a part of your home. And I may not know who she is individually, but it's not about the individual. It's about the collective, not just about the individual. Sorry. Of course it's about her, but it's also about everything that this is bringing up for all of us as women. That it's striking to me. It's shocking to me. I didn't know that this was the story. I thought it was, I just assumed that she might have taken her own life. I don't know why. I didn't even know the lengths or the details of this story at all. So first I want to say thank you for sharing this, because this needs to be heard, not to incite fear, not to say, look over your shoulder every single second, but what this is bringing up for us and for us as a community, which we'll dive deeper into.
And speaking about that, it has, I have been through a good amount of grief in my life, and my father passed away very, very suddenly and incredibly unexpected, similarly to this.
When you were 13, the unexpected, right?
What was that?
When you were 13 or 14? How old were you?
12. 12.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What was I saying? So it's been interesting, like going through the grief process, which we know is not a linear process. And I feel like that is definitely, like, I have been experiencing its incredible up and downs, like minute to minute, pretty much. Like I could be happy and like, either thinking about her and thinking about all the wonderful things that she brought to my life and everybody else's life with her pure existence. Or I could, be in a moment when like I'm not thinking about that. And dealing, with that comes with some guilt, feeling like, oh, I'm enjoying my life. I'm happy right now when something so tragic happened. Like they're, just dealing with the guilt and the shame and anger and deep, deep sadness, and like longing for her and dealing with all those emotions. Like I said, just so quick and so up and down. It's exhausting. Like grief is exhausting. But I have found, through this, myself and the other women I work with, we have become a lot closer. And that's just like another beauty of sisterhood and, really being intentional about our community and being vulnerable and opening up with the members that are, in our community, whether or not they're really close, because I would consider, most of the women that I work with, like friends, but we're not like super, super close, but that's okay. Like you don't need extreme closeness to share in vulnerability with people, which is like something that I really want people to understand. So the community aspect of this, and just allowing myself, which has been something we'll talk about, like allowing myself to lean on other people for help and like asking for help is not something that I'm really comfortable with. And it's in this relationship, this wonderful, beautiful relationship I'm in, I'm really learning how to do that. So being able to have a partner that is so strong and supportive, that encourages me to not put all of this on my plate and like realize that I don't have to go through this alone, that I can share with him and my mom and my friends and stuff like that, has been, something so beautiful that has come from something so horrific.
Tragic. Yeah.
Tragic.
Well, thank you for...
I do want to share, something. He was caught.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Good. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. It's just terrible, but there is the slightest amount of justice, with his capture.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that offers, some type of reprieve for listeners, because I know it did for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you brought up that I really want to highlight, and that is the showing up as you are, no matter what, and the fear that comes along with that, right? Because you might not be quote unquote like peaking emotionally right now, but it doesn't mean that you are unworthy of love, you're unworthy of connection, you're unworthy of support. And you and I are both incredibly strong women. We've traversed some incredibly difficult and dark terrain individually. We've been in each other's lives when that's been happening as well. And with the pain that we have endured, let's say, sometimes in the seat of being a victim to some circumstances that were outside of our own control, I see women, I see us, I've seen myself put up this armor that is so strong that nobody can penetrate it. Nobody can get through to us anymore, because we have been, for lifetimes, truly, this is a wound that resides within our soul for lifetimes. We have been abused, we have been attacked, we have been silenced, we have been shamed. And so there's this armor, there's this strength that we have to build up. But it's almost as if, oh, well, I've done it all myself now. Why when I'm in the pits of hell where I've been many times before, would I allow you in when I'm even more vulnerable, and the potential of being hurt is even easier where I'm at right now than, if I were to be in a better headspace, right? So there's this hyper independence that comes with pain that we've endured. And it sounds like you are learning or relearning, or you have found again how to open up and actually receive, which is what the feminine does, receive help instead of, isolate, which is what I see so many of us tend to do. Oh, I'm going through a really dark time. I need to isolate and not burden others with this.
Oh, girl, say it louder. Oh my gosh. I absolutely feel that. And like you were talking about, divine femininity is like receiving. I have found so much comfort and security in my masculine my whole life, and have never really had, I know you know what I'm talking about. I'm just like, I've never really had in my life up until I met my partner, a representation of a secure masculine, and kind of how that, and we like in our practices and our learning of spirituality, we have had the opportunity to learn that like we are a mirror. The divine feminine is a mirror. And I definitely feel that like my partner Vince has shown me so many things about myself that, are desperately yearning to be healed and acknowledged from my past, from my soul's past, all of these things that I am learning and like being able to receive help. And it's the thing, like resilience, it's so apparent, and it's I feel some kind of way about the term resilience and like calling women resilient, because I just hate that like we have had to be resilient.
Yeah.
We have had to bounce back to things, and there have been times and partners in my past when I have been going through something so dark, and in the hope of like becoming closer or like, healing myself, I have reached out and kind of, asked for help, and it has been either shamed or just something has happened to where it's like forced me to go deeper into this hole, and realizing just like how unhealthy it is. But now like it's been cool to receive help and support from somebody that is so genuine about it.
A healed
and it really encourages
masculine.
me to like, yes, it just encourages me to rip it apart and unpack it and to show up truly as how I am. And, in this process of honoring who I am and honoring my emotions and honoring what my physical body is going through, my mental body and my spiritual self are going through, I feel has been so therapeutic. And I kind of have been comparing this grief process to the death of my father, who passed away. He was hit by a drunk driver. And experiencing, both of these grief processes, there are some similarities, but there's also like a way different way of navigating them in the self that I am now, who chooses to honor, who chooses to show up exactly how I am, regardless of what I might think people might think of me, or like feeling like I have to suppress all my emotions because I have other responsibilities. I have other people that I need to show up for. So like I need to put myself to the side. And that's not happening right now. If I feel like I need to cry just randomly, then I'm going to cry randomly. And I don't care who it's around. Because I think like being honest and being vulnerable with yourself, especially in the face of other people, is like such a strong and valiant, thing to do. And I love being that and showing other people that like it's so healthy and it's encouraged, and like you can inspire other people through being who you are truly. And like what a gift that we have.
Yeah. And to know that you're worthy of that support and of that love, no matter where you're at. If your hair's a mess, if you just ran into a wall with your face, if you're crying and there's mascara and there's makeup, we like the people that really love you and the people that want to love you and the people that are waiting somewhere in the world to meet you and to love you, they don't care about that stuff. And it also removes that pressure from ourselves of like, I have to be perfect. And that's what I try so hard to teach people. And that's like one of the main values that's woven into this podcast, into this like energetic vortex where I'm just trying to like push out these healing codes for people, is that
you are, Danny, you're doing it every day.
Doing my best, but it's the mission, but it's that it does, like, true love comes without judgment. True love is pure acceptance. And if I can't accept you the where you're at right now, that means on some level there's a place where I'm not accepting myself, and I don't think I'm worthy of this type of connection when I'm emotionally in shambles, which, by the way, like, if you wouldn't have told me what's going on, I wouldn't have known. You really keep it together. I really wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm like, for days. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is like the medicine in this, and this is where we're heading, to show people that this is what real love is, whether it's sisterhood, like a soul brother, a partner, a friend, a family member. If we can't accept you for where you're at, that means on some level we're not accepting ourselves. So thank you for showing up and just being so honest, the transparency is also what's so needed, right? Because we're entrepreneurs, like you have, I don't know how many businesses you have. How many businesses do you have?
Well, I just have
one,
like
two?
so I have the one right now. I have Grounded Babes, like flowers and plants, and then I am a nanny. I do content creation, which I'm super excited to talk to you about as well. It's creating content for a rather like controversial platform. And then, I have my cargo job as well. So I'm kind of doing the most I can,
Right.
classically doing it all.
Right. Multi-talented, multifaceted, but ultimately, like on some level, there is that external pressure to be perceived, or even just like the natural ego human inclination to want to be accepted. So it's natural for our being and our brain to be like, oh, I need to adapt, I need to be accepted, because in the past we needed to be accepted in order to survive, right? So but you continuously like take this metaphorical like energetic sphere, and you crash through all of those societal norms, and you're like, no, it just because it's this way doesn't mean it has to be that way.
Right.
Doesn't
There
mean that
are other
that's
ways.
beneficial. Right.
It's not the only one. And thank you for saying that. I
Mm-hmm.
feel that, in this journey of being an entrepreneur, and my business is very young right now for many reasons, but like even right now, like even that, I felt this kind of guttural need to explain why my business is still pretty small after like a year or so of actively working on it. And that is still, something that I deal with every single day, is feeling like, feeling the pressure of the hustle culture that we as a society are just like, it's pressed on us. And I have so much hope right now for like the near future and the future, because I feel like people are waking up to reject the hustle culture and honor ourselves, and like how the universe and the world is going to show up for us and present opportunities when they need to be. And for me, like, I feel like if I'm not doing something to work on my business, like every single day, every minute, then to me, I'm not doing enough. And that's, something else that I deeply struggle with, is not doing enough. And that has shown up in my relationship, shown up in my friendships, shown up in my familial relationships. Like, it has shown up in many, many different ways. And I have really, really noticed it in the entrepreneurial side, and thinking that like comparison has also been very, very difficult, and is the root of a lot of, my struggles that I deal with, like looking at other florists, that were starting out the same time that I am. Oh no, they have more Instagram followers than I. Oh no, they're doing more things than I am doing. But like, it's an interesting thing, is like being aware of something that you're actively trying to work on, because that thought process is met with like, it reminds me of like your past self, and like your ego and stuff talking to you like you're not doing enough, compare yourself to this person, met with my future self, who is like, no, you're going to be doing things on your own time for your own reasons. And like right in the middle, where they're just kind of like fighting each other. But I know that like future self and higher Claire is giving me the awareness that I have right now to really just try and like continue to step forward into that thought process of really like, this is my path, this is my alignment. I trust that the universe is going to give me what she needs to give me when I need it.
Right.
And just operating that way, I've found it's, once you live in alignment and you're actively trying to pursue a life within alignment, and you and I both know this, the universe just
here you go.
Like, here you go. Here's everything that you wanted. Here you go. Like, and it's just that in itself can be frustrating when like you and I both know that process works. That is like the truest process in our existence. But there are still so many things in my life and times when like I'm not living in alignment, and I know I'm not, for whether it's fear, like fear of failure, the feeling, then the fear of the unknown, diving into something that like I have no idea what's going to happen. Like that shit is scary. And there's a lot of avoidance that comes with that too, and it's just, I think really the thing that I can keep honoring to myself and keep telling myself is that like, just every single day, do what you need to do for you.
That's beautiful, because Yeah, you actually answered the questions that I was going to ask you without me having to ask them. because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we have a lot of values that align. And one of my values for myself is my mental, my physical, my spiritual health comes before anything else, including my work. Because if I can't be in, like, if I can't be clear, if I can't be, you know, stable within myself, how can I provide that space for others? And yes, I can definitely put the ego to the side and I still have the capacity to do that. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like you agree when I say when it comes to our health in general, that takes primary position over our work. And that is going to be inevitable that we're not going to have that level of growth like that we're seeing, and I go through that as well, and then I assess and I see how quickly these people have grown, and I'm like, well, they've had to sacrifice their health, their sleep, their well-being, and on the other side of that is a crash that I'm not willing to go through just because I had like a high ticket month, just because I had all these sales, right? Like, the question for you is, you interweave your spiritual practices and your self-growth practices into the energetics of your business, right? Which ultimately bring you back to that patience that you have.
Right. And, the business, it's a business that stems from my creative energy and my creative
Exactly.
flow. And the business, it's creative flow. It's a flow. Exactly. Like it's going to flow up and down. It ebbs and flows. And, I think just being so set on setting up my business that way, because my business is me. My business is creativity. I am creativity. And that's like one of my favorite things about myself is my creative channel and how I choose to honor that. And how I like choose to use it. And I, definitely feel that it's been hard. Like it's beautiful having your business, your passion, and having it, stem from your creative flow. But that's also really tough too, because when the creativity is not there, the want to like turn it into something that it's not is not within alignment.
Yeah. So for me, I can't be in force. I mean, I can, right? The creative flow is the feminine, right? It's about flowing with what's moving through you, what's coming to you. And so let's say like I'm having, a difficult mental health day, or my energy just feels off, or like something triggered me and I have to work through it, but I'm trying to compartmentalize it and just push through. Inevitably, those energetics are like interwoven into what you're creating. And when you're in force, it blocks that, right? So I've never found a good outcome when I'm trying to force things. It just means that it's not meant for you in that time. And the universe is constantly bringing us back to like, this is about you. This is about your happiness. This is about, contentment, the present moment. And if we're trying to force creation, like we're going against the laws of the universe, right?
Yes.
And you're not
So
going
well
to
said.
win. You're not going to win, right? So
you're just going to be faced with more frustration.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I do really want to, how I kind of want to like connect this all back together is I would love to know how your creative process is with your emotions, with the grief that you're feeling right now. Because, I do believe you're a transmuter. You know how to channel that in different ways. So I'm curious how, maybe it's too soon, maybe how you've processed it in the past, how you've like used that as fuel for your creative outlet and for your individual expansion.
I love that. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure yet. I feel like I'm kind of in the mode like right before I'm going to figure out how I want to utilize this energy. Because that is something that I really enjoy doing. And you said the term transmuter.
Yeah, Transmuting, like essentially like alchemizing, like turning it, transforming
Yes.
one thing into something else.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I have been searching for that term, Danny, literally, because I have felt that's so crazy. Oh, I love that so much because I have told myself, and, many times through meditation or whether I'm, sitting and having a ceremony with mushrooms, I have deeply felt that it is one of my life's calling to take energy that can be difficult for some people to absorb, and like I always like visualize it as this, is that like I'm taking in this energy that is daunting and sad and traumatic, and it all kind of like hangs out in my body, and my body like just allows it to, or my body just kind of takes it and recycles it and transforms it into something. And I, through my fingertips, is where I like my fingertips, literally when I'm designing, I feel like I have like creative flow, like energy coming through me. And that's definitely, that like channel of releasing that energy that I've alchemized has been through my voice, has been through my hands, has just been through my presence. And it's been interesting to kind of feel that process of it, working through, and, my soul determining how I'm going to utilize this type of energy. And I've been going through a really big and kind of like a long creative funk even before this. But the thing is, and I'm really excited to tell you this. I, for the last like 3 weeks, probably, I have been feeling this really dark energy coming. And I've had no idea, how it was going to manifest. And I lost Lauren, and I lost another friend from my like middle school and high school days. We were really good friends when we were younger. We, just life kind of happens, but she did unfortunately pass as well. And I no longer have that feeling, that like doom feeling that I was having. And I believe that like a good amount of that creative funk that I have been feeling has been from that, because it can be almost paralyzing and very scary. So I feel that, right now I'm kind of deciding how I want to take these next couple weeks for myself. I do have some excitement in me to create again, because when the time is right and when I do want to create, I really want to jump on that, because it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel like I'm moving forward in my business. It makes me feel like I'm moving forward with my creative channel and I'm blocking it.
You're so a Scorpio, right?
I am a Libra double Scorpio.
Double Scorpio. Okay, so your moon's in Scorpio.
Yeah, moon and rising are in Scorpio.
Okay, can I share with you some information on that?
Please.
Okay. I don't know if you know this or not, but like the Scorpio is my north node. It's what I'm destined to do in this life. And it's literally they're the god of the underworld, so to speak, like the god of the darkness. They work with darkness. They're not afraid of it. They use it as their muse, especially with the moon in Scorpio. Like that's your emotions. That's your intuition. There have been so many Scorpio moons in my life recently. It's crazy. But anyways, that's like, yeah, that's why you have this innate gift, the same gift that I have to be a transmuter in this world, an empath. Like we have the strength in our soul and the many, many lifetimes of experience of already naturally being an alchemist, being that transmuter. And also Scorpio, like having that tapped in intuition to the darkness that's coming, like already knowing with your soul and your energetic body that something dark was coming weeks prior to the actual occurrence, just shows you and shows me how intuitive you are. It's very, very powerful. And it just makes sense the way that you're expressing how you work and how the energy that you move into when you're creating. It just makes so much sense. So yeah,
that's really validating to hear. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, it's a part of being a creator, is using our lives, our experiences, whatever we're going through, highs, lows, in between, to turn that into something powerful and beautiful, but it is a process. Like, you don't have to do it. It doesn't have to be, every time you're feeling something you have to create, but inevitably it sounds like that process is emerging within you naturally and you're trusting it.
Mm-hmm. And I trust that,
Yeah.
I trust that, and you were talking about force earlier, and I have spent so many years trying to force myself into being somebody I'm not, doing things that I'm not, and just showing up in ways that I'm not supposed to. So it feels really good to kind of let go of wanting to force that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like because of that, when the time to create comes and that energy, that creative energy comes and is ready for me to express it how I choose, it's so apparent that this is now the time. And I think just kind of getting that validation for myself, when I really, really understand now is not the time for me to create, this is not meant for me. The same, because I on the same token, I feel that so deeply, I also feel so deeply, okay, now's the time. Now I want to go buy flowers. Now I want to go work with plants. Now I want to be outside. I want to speak to my guides. I want to meditate. I want to, create. It's this excitement that comes from within. It's this fire that is just ignited, and it's so exciting, and it, makes you want to jump on it immediately, which I'm I know that time will come for me again, because that's who I am and that's how it goes. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm trying not to get too caught up on the future that holds that. Mm-hmm. And really just because I feel that if I don't honor my time now, and the grief and the sadness and the anger and the emotions that are, a lot of people coin as negative or bad emotions, they're still just emotions in general. I feel that, when I allow myself to do that, it's more good things are unlocked in this kind of future of allowing myself to sit in that creative flow. So it's an exciting thing, and I allow myself to be excited because I really am working on honoring right now in this moment how I'm feeling, how my body feels. It's exciting stuff.
People can learn so much from that. And I don't know if you saw me, I was tearing up a little bit because I just thought back, I saw you a year ago before I left to Costa Rica. And I don't know, I'm getting so choked up, but the growth that you have had in a year, in 12 months, I knew you were spiritual, but the way that you're talking about this and how much it has integrated and how much it's expanded for you and how you've really been leaning into and embracing your feminine, I'm just I'm blown away by the growth that you've had in 12 months. And I know when I saw you last, I was not in a great place either. And to see the revolution of you, the evolution, revolution too, as women, but the divine, the revolution, right?
Yes.
That was meant to be said as of the divine feminine. We are leaning into that. I used to resist. I've always been emotional, which is an aspect of the feminine, but I used to resist being softer and slower and not softer just physically, but energetically, there was always
have the space to do that either.
Right. That's true. We kind of we were just mostly trying to survive for a really long period when we were younger. But just to honor how much you've expanded as a person, as a spiritual being, and how much that has been brought into your business as well. I'm just in awe. Congratulations. And I'm so happy for you. Of course. Before we move on to the next question I have, I want to talk a little bit more about grief before we move on.
Please.
Because I feel
I would love to. Yes.
This is it's grief is such it's similar to feminine rage, right? As far as the amount of shame I feel or dodginess we get when wanting to talk about it or wanting to express it. It's a lot of people can't handle the energy of it, so they don't want to talk about it. But my loves, grief is, with life comes loss, with loss comes life, and with love comes grief. They're two sides of the same coin, and it's not just that we lose people, it's not just that we lose parts of our lives, it's not just that we grieve loss physically. we also grieve it if you're on this path like you and I of spiritual enlightenment and self-evolution and self-mastery. We're going to lose many pieces of ourself. We're going to let go. And that in itself has a grieving process as well. So I just want to hear your perspective on grief and where you're at with that, what you want to share with the listeners.
Grief for me is very revealing, very, very revealing. It just strips you down to your rawest form, which can be so much because you're not just experiencing the rawness of this horrific thing that happened. Like, I'm experiencing the rawness of my past self, like younger Claire. I'm experiencing the rawness of like the triggers of death, you know? And I feel like there's just so many challenging things that come from grief, which just, you know, like you said, encourages us to kind of like push it away and dodge it and not really want to deal with it, because it's not like I feel like the term grief encompasses like a myriad of other emotions and other experiences that you're about to go through. But for me, grief is also, it can be a beautiful process, because like you were saying, like with death comes life, and with grief, I believe, comes love. And, you know, the love that I've just been seeing for Lauren and for her family, and the love that I have with myself, that I'm really, really trying to like wrap my arms around myself and hug myself and offer myself love, has been a really beautiful process to like see how I show up for myself as well. But grief, I mean, it's also very like, it can be very fueling too. You know, it can ignite the wanting and the longing for deeper connection for people that are on this earth now. And it really just forces you to put everything in your life in perspective immediately. You know, how you show up in your friendships, and like for me, like I've lost a lot in my life, and it's very important for me, whether I'm aware of it consciously or it's happening subconsciously. Every single time I leave somebody that I care about, I have to make sure that like I say I love you, or say, you know, some nice thing that like the end of the meeting or their connection, you know, has to be good some type. Like I want to walk away like feeling good about this, because you never know if that's going to be the last time that you see that person. So like, it is so sad to operate that way by that, but like, it has encouraged me to show up in relationships and in little tiny moments. It has encouraged me to show up in a really loving, good way that I feel is like a beautiful ripple effect with people, you know, and that's just something that I've got kind of gathered from it. But grief is a learning process. It's the opportunity to heal yourself and to, you know, potentially show up a way that you really want to show up. Like I love about myself how I show up for people. I love the strength in my hugs that I give to people. You know, I love this space and like the listening ear that I give to people, and that all of those have been really, really apparent during this awful time of grief. You know, I've been able to find, and I think that's like also part of the process too, is like kind of like clinging on to anything, any positive light, anything that you can cling on to like, really like cling on to it, because grief is like a deep abyss sometimes. Like you just feel alone and surrounded by all of these awful things. So like, if I can cling on to like the fact that somebody is looking forward to me giving them a hug the next time I work, like I'm going to cling the fuck onto that, because that makes me feel good about myself, and that I know that I'm going to make another person feel good. And for me, like that's, you know, a great thing that grief brings to life, I think.
Yeah. As you're speaking about that, and thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really beautiful perspective. what I kind of see is like it's like this wave that comes into your life and it just cleanses all of the selfish egoic bullshit that we so, and I don't want to call it bullshit, because there's a purpose and a place for everything and all the seasons that we go through, but we can get so self-focused that when something like this happens, it is a reminder. It is like it kind of wipes the dirt off of your lens, and you're like, holy shit, the only thing that matters in life is relationships and love and connection. And so I'm going to go and give the people in my life what I should have been doing. Don't should all over yourself, but I'm going to invest more time and more energy. And this is just a reminder of that, because at the end of the day, when we're on our deathbeds, when the universe or our soul is like, okay, it's time to go, like we're done here, we want to be in a point where we look back and we see through that lens of we prioritized loving the people in our lives. Because that's inevitably all that really matters. And you and I are such givers. We have such big hearts. Such big hearts. Like all I want to do is hug and all I want to do is hug and love people and tell them how fucking amazing they are. Like I was doing that Saturday. I finally met this group of soul tribe out here after 3 months of it, like of not really having community. And that was really difficult. And I finally met these people on Saturday, and they all had open hearts. And I swear to God, we like opened a portal in the club and we were just dancing to house music. Like most of the people were sober, and we were just like in a bubble of fucking love, And chills. When you experience that, you're reminded, like, I've been so emotional this whole episode. You're reminded that is
allow it to come through. Yes.
You're reminded that that's the only thing that really matters is community and connection. And when you have that energy, you have more energy to move forward in your own endeavors.
So well said.
We're in such a period of divisiveness.
Women, Danny, I'm so happy.
Women and men.
Women and men.
Oh,
yes, even better.
It was healed men. Like, hallelujah.
Oh my God.
Hallelujah.
Hot. Healed men. We love it. We love it.
And that's a perfect segue, because I want to touch on your relationship. You've already talked about it. Like you've planted a couple of seeds, and I want to really talk about, because we've seen each other in so many, but we love them. We love them.
We love them. And we also honor ourselves in those relationships, because it taught us everything, that we have now.
Yes. And also like, wow, we've been through it. There's been highs and lows, and I do believe the Claire that I see now, like we're constantly re-meeting each other, right? Because we're always different. Every single day we're changing. Yeah. But I do believe that the Claire I see now, a big part of your growth has been from the amazing masculine that's in your life. So do you want to share a little bit about that process?
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah. Some water, please.
Literally. What a process. So his name is Vince, and you got to meet him right before we started recording. And the introduction of him in my life has been like the most life-altering, like revealing, kind of scary experience. It's like, so we met, I don't know how sometimes I can kind of ramble, and like, I get really excited to talk about him and like our relationship. So like, help me, like guide me through this.
I got you. I just want to make sure we touch on everything that you want to talk about today. So just know, like,